He thought his case was safe. Everything had been approved. Every document was submitted. Every requirement completed. Every step followed exactly the way the system demanded. And then everything stopped. No update. No email. No explanation. Just silence. Now imagine waking up every morning, checking your case status, refreshing the page again and again, and seeing the same message. Case is being actively reviewed. For months. Sometimes for years. That's not just frustrating. That's life on hold. This is the reality of the US immigration system in 2026. And at the center of it is one agency. White right pointing back hand index US Citizenship and Immigration Services. Most people think they understand USCIS. They know it processes applications. They know it approves visas. They know it handles green cards. But what they don't understand is this: white right pointing back hand index USCIS doesn't just process your case. White right pointing back hand index, it controls your timeline, your decisions, your future. Because in this system, approval is not the end. Sometimes, white right pointing back hand index, it's where the real waiting begins. Let's break this down. But not the way you've heard before. Not the simplified version. Not the official explanation. We're going deeper into how the system actually works and why so many cases stop moving even after approval. Let's start with something simple. What does USCIS actually do? It handles immigration benefits. That includes green card petitions, work permits, EAD, citizenship applications, family sponsorship, employment-based visas. Every application starts here. Every file goes through this system. And for most people, USCIS feels like the entire process. But it's not. And this is where the first misunderstanding begins. Because immigration is not one system. It is two completely different systems, running at different speeds, under different rules, controlled by different agencies. And if you don't understand this, white right pointing back hand index, you will never understand your delay. The first system is USCIS. This is where your case is reviewed. Your I-130. Your I-140. Your I-485. This is where decisions are made. Approval or denial. But then comes the second system. The one most people don't fully understand. The visa allocation system. Controlled by the Department of State. And this system decides one thing: white right pointing back hand index, when your case actually moves forward. Now think about that. You can be approved and still be stuck. For months. For years. Sometimes for decades. This is not theory. This is reality. There are millions of approved cases right now that are not moving. Because approval does not equal availability. And this is where frustration turns into confusion. Because people ask, if my case is approved, why am I still waiting? The answer is simple. White right pointing back hand index, because approval is only step one. Now let's talk about 2026. Because something has changed. The system is under pressure. More than ever before. Applications have increased. Verification has increased. But resources have not increased at the same pace. And this creates one thing: white right pointing back hand index delay. But not just delay. Unpredictable delay. Now here is something very important. When USCIS says your case will take 14 months or your case will take 18 months, that is not a promise. It is based on past data. Not current conditions. Not future reality. And this is why people get stuck. They plan their lives based on numbers that change. Now let's talk about one of the biggest issues in 2026. Work permits. EAD. For many people, this is not just a document. It is survival. It allows them to work, to earn, to live. And right now, EAD delays are one of the biggest failures in the system. People apply early. They follow the rules. They submit everything on time. And still, their permit does not arrive. Now imagine this. Your EAD expires. You are still waiting. Your employer asks for renewal. And you don't have it. What happens? Right pointing back hand index, you lose your job. Not because you broke the rules, but because the system did not move fast enough. There is an automatic extension rule, but many employers don't understand it. So even when you are legally allowed to work, you are told, right pointing back hand index, you cannot continue. And this is where system delay becomes personal damage. Now let's go deeper. Why does USCIS delay happen? Because not all cases are equal. Some cases are simple. Others require background checks, additional evidence, security verification, and when that happens, right pointing back hand index, your case slows down. Now here's the part most people ignore. Small mistakes. A missing document. A wrong date. A delayed response. These seem small. But in immigration, right pointing back hand index, they are not small. They can add months, sometimes years. Now let's talk about control, because this is the most important part. You cannot control visa limits, government policy, system backlog, but you can control your accuracy, your timing, your preparation. And this is where smart applicants make a difference. Because in a slow system, right pointing back hand index precision saves time. Now let's address the biggest myth. Once USCIS approves my case, I'm done. No. Approval is not the end. It is a transition into another waiting system. And that system does not move at the same speed. So what should you do? First, understand your category. Second, track your priority date. Third, stay updated, because the system changes. And if you don't change with it, right pointing back hand index, you fall behind. Now let's talk about the emotional side, because this system is not just technical. It is psychological. Waiting affects everything. Your job, your travel, your family, your plans. Everything depends on one thing, right pointing back hand index movement. And when movement stops, right pointing back hand index life pauses. So the real question is not, when will my case be approved? The real question is, right pointing back hand index, what happens after approval? Because that is where most people get stuck.